From Perth, coast to coast across Australia and to our island state, the Mitsubishi Challenge proudly presents the Perth Wildcats and Hobart Devils, featuring World Youth All-Star Aaron Trahair. The Apple Islanders also boast a future boomer in David Stiff. These two talented youngsters are all set to play starring roles along with a strong supporting cast. It's all about to happen at the Perth Entertainment Centre.
Well, here comes a woman.
And from inside the Perth Entertainment Centre, the big question tonight is, can Hobart avoid their 24th consecutive loss away from home? Remarkable stat, that one. Welcome along, everyone. Week 14 of the regular season. Hobart haven't won away from home since September 1993, nearly 2 years ago. And they face a tough contract tonight up against the in-form Perth Wildcats. As we check the standings then, and the Wildcats going along quite nicely at 10-6 on the season, looking for a spot in the top four. As we go over the page, in Hobart, the cellar dwellers 3-14 this year and headed for their second consecutive wooden spoon. John Gardner is with me. And what about that, John? Hobart just can't seem to win away from home.
Yeah, it's an unenviable record, isn't it, Peter? They really struggled away from home. Finished 14th last year. On the bottom of it this year, they really have to be seen as the cellar dwellers at the moment.
Can you make a case for the Devils tonight?
Well, I can. Having said what I did say just then, they took the Wildcats to within 10 in Hobart earlier this year, and they are a team that, one of the two teams that have out-rebounded the Wildcats this year, and they've got David Stiff back in their lineup. He certainly will add to their shooting percentage.
Well, I guess it's fair to say Hobart do struggle to score, averaging just 90 points a game this year.
And I think that's one of the keys, Peter, really. If you look at their points production, they've struggled all year at 90. They score fewer than any other team, and if the Wildcats can contain them to around their season's average, I think the Wildcats will be in good shape.
What about the return to form of Anthony Stewart, a former Devil? Last two games, 25 points a match.
Yeah, welcome return against some quality opposition, and it'll be interesting tonight to see if Stewart can maintain his form against his old club and overcome the psychological pressures that they're bound to put on him.
Now, as we approach the finals, John, all of a sudden a bit more muscle on the Wildcats bench. They've made some adjustments tonight.
Yes, they made some adjustments tonight. They've got Craig McAndrew returning from the international program, sitting down, and Matt Earp not playing. That gives them Aaron Trahair returning, and I think their bench is far more balanced than what it's been in recent times.
OK, thanks for that then, John. Let's go to the courtside now for more on tonight's game. Here's Mike Ellis. Mike?
Yes, thanks, Peter. Let's have a look at a couple of the matchups tonight. We've got a classic confrontation, James Crawford versus Andre Moore. And let's have a look at their stats right now. Have a look at that. And if you look at the minutes played down the very bottom, 34 to Crawford, 42 to Andre Moore, you can see that Crawford is actually much more productive, getting 10.5 rebounds to Moore's 7.7. Now, that will be a very, very tough matchup tonight. There's no question about that. And you'll see Crawford on Moore, not so much all the time, but certainly for a good part of the game. My guess is that Andrew Vlahoff will start on him purely so that he can beat Moore up a little bit and perhaps slow Andre down. Then James, the big, tall, jumping James, can come in and block any of his shots. Now, the other guy that we have here tonight, of course, is Anthony Stewart. And we're going to have a quick look at his Hobart versus Perth stats. Now, of course, Hobart last year, he scored 19 a game at 46%. And this year, he's down a little bit, only scoring 13. But that really, without doubt, was due to his mid-season slump that he had. Recently, in his last two games, he's got right up into the high 20s, and he's doing very, very well. Much more confident shooting at the moment. And as you can see there, though, he is only shooting, only playing 34 minutes as opposed to 41 last year.
And the all-time head-to-head record then favouring the Wildcats, 19 games to 6. Hobart haven't won in Perth in some 7 years. Coaching records then, Adrian Hurley and Tomlinson. Hurley with an impressive 64% winning record. And finally tonight, the odds courtesy of Bet West. The Wildcats hot favourites, long odds on at 14 to 1 on. And Hobart quoted at 7 to 1. Let's get selections. John, who do you like tonight?
Well, I have to go for the Wildcats considering recent form, and I think it should be fairly comfortable if they maintain their defence.
Here's Scott then bringing the ball down the other end, and Stiff makes the jam to open the scoring. Mike, what about your thoughts?
Well, cop that one, Pete. That was a fairly nasty little dunk there, but I think the Wildcats really are favoured to win this, and they'd have to play fairly ordinary to lose, I believe.
Here's Fisher, the dish to Vlahoff.
They've got a good first five, Peter. There's no doubt about that. If you look at Scott in the backcourt with Perry, and Perry's got to be over 200 games, and Andre Moore, he's got over 150 games. There's a lot of experience with those two out there. Stiff come back from the University of Boston this year, and Smith's been playing well So I think the bench is where we've got to look at it. But gee, there's Jerome Scott with a nice two-pointer under pressure.
Born in Washington, D.C., went to the University of Miami. Jerome Scott in his first season in the NBL, 25-year-old, and making quite an impression. One of their major scorers, 23 points a game, gets the bonus and gives Hobart the lead by 3-5 playing 2. Pretty good crowd in tonight.
Yeah, good crowd tonight when you consider that Hobart's on the bottom of the rankings for the NBL. But by the same token, the crowds know how unpredictable teams can be.
Fisher gets a couple, been in terrific form the last 4 matches, averaging 27 points a game. We've got a foul mid-court against Grace, I would suspect.
I think it's Stewart, Peter.
Okay.
It was take your pick, and as a matter of fact, both officials, Michael Butler and Tommy Mills, looked at each other for confirmation of who would wear the foul. Roger Shields is the other official in tonight's game.
Scott on the dribble. Anthony Stewart guarding him. Played 74 games for the Devils before coming to Perth. This year, crowd wants some defence. Wildcats in terrific form. They've won 3 in a row. There's Perry for 3, all net.
Well, they've started well, the Devils, and the Wildcats were matching up in a zone there, all to no avail. 8 to the Devils, 4 to the Wildcats.
Earlier this year, as we watched Blahoff, the shot is blocked. Defeated Hobart 111 to 97. That was in Hobart. Fisher got 28 that night. Grace 18. Scott 31 for the Devils, so he's a key.
He's a sweet shooter. Perry is a very experienced backcourt player. They've got a good double in the backcourt with Perry and Scott. And Stiff, of course, they're looking for big things for Stiff.
Looking to take it to the hoop strongly.
Against Fisher.
And there's a foul against the Wildcats. Third team foul.
Well, both teams look fairly laid back at the moment, but right now David Stiff is taking that layup through. The pressure was fairly strong there. Contact may have been incidental, but either way, 8 points, 4-point lead to the Devils, and Stiff on the foul line.
Mike, what about the build-up for this game? You think that coming in against the bottom club in the league, perhaps the players starting like they're not exactly tuned in?
Well, it's always difficult, Peter, and it is a worry with Hobart because they've had a good record against the Wildcats on occasions, in particular last year in Hobart. And there's one man out here, number 23, who's keen to make sure the rest of his team are up for this game, I can tell you right now.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, and I guess anybody that's played any sort of competitive sport knows the pressure put on an old club with a player that's gone to a new club.
We've got a foul. The Wildcats have drawn one inside the paint. Good work by Blahoff on the recovery then.
He's been in great form, Andrew Blahoff. He was just short of a triple-double last week, and his tenacity on defence and his ability to really lift his team on offence has been a key for the Wildcats.
Skipper's got it now to Fisher. We've mentioned his form in recent weeks. Wants to take on Stiff, forced back out. Crawford 16 points a game this year. Blahoff wants to set up a play. Crawford looking to set a screen now. He gets free. Good pass from Blahoff. Didn't get the roll. And Moore got the rebound.
One of the areas, only 2 clubs that have out-rebounded the Wildcats this year. One has been the Townsville Suns, and that was a very dour struggle on this court recently. And the other one is this team, Hobart.
Working hard baselines to Wildcats score. What about that losing streak, Mike, of the Devils away from home? If they lose tonight, it's their 24th consecutive loss away from the Derwent Entertainment Centre.
That's not the sort of record you like to have in your team, is it? That's for sure, but it's a tough one to break.
Your old club, John, holds the league record, 27, back in August 89 through to September 91.
That's Newcastle, that's true. And you're right, it's not an enviable record. I think it's 1987 since the Devils beat the Wildcats in Perth, Mike, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Hits a triple from the corner, and that is one aspect, Mike, that's really improved the Wildcats' game in recent weeks. That's been their outside shooting.
Certainly has. They're doing a lot better from out there, Grace in particular, but also Stewart. Obviously 6 from 6 last week certainly helped that percentage.
Underneath, Smith got free and scored.
A good, strong offence, well executed. And David Smith has had a very good game this year. Darren Smith, I should say, and they've got to watch him because he can score points.
Fisher fade away, didn't drop. Stiff got the rebound. Scott ran into Stewart. And it's an offensive call. They've copped it up, Hobart.
Yeah, coaches love that, Mike, don't they? The offensive situation that takes away the opportunity to score from the opponent. It gives you the ball back.
Well, Stewie took the dive and he got the call, you know, but the question you've got to ask is the outlet passer putting Jerome Scott under the pressure like that?
Well, I think it's obvious, Peter, that so far the Devils are trying to run the ball down the floor, and that's a ploy that's worked very well for the home club all year, and the Devils have done their homework. They're turning that back in against the Wildcats.
Crawford couldn't control the pass. Grace, great dish to Fisher. Wildcats score a couple out of nothing then.
Let's move ahead now. Perth has hit 7 unanswered points, all from the free throw line to lead by 4.
And you see how he highlighted Ricky Grace's assist out there? I didn't care who passed it. It was James Crawford. What a magnificent dunk. And here comes Stewart on the end of a break, and that'll help his confidence.
And another pass from Ricky Grace. Great assist.
Come down went Crawford. Scott looking to take it all the way. No whistle. Russell. Down go another 2 Wildcats. Well, they're going down like bowling pins then.
Well, there's justice, isn't there? Crawford was screaming for the charge foul just before halfway, and they eventually got the benefit of the call right underneath their bucket as Rousel goes through and knocks over Catalini.
They nearly called that a strike, Mike.
Stacks on the mill down there, wasn't it?
Well, you know, critical possession here. 9 seconds to go. Wildcats lead by 4. They want to be able to build upon this and make it 6, maybe 8 before quarter time. They don't want to give up an easy one to the Devils.
Inside the last minute now, this opening quarter. Good start by Hobart. Thompson to the top and Trahair on the dribble now. Named in the All-Star 5. They go for the alley-oop, and Catalini, who kept it inbounds. Grace firing for 3. And that was Swedish-alike.
Now they need a defensive stop, and if they can, they'll be comfortable. If they can keep the Devils to 20 points for the quarter, they'll be happy.
7-point lead, and Hobart, let's check the game clock, 27 seconds, about 20 seconds now on the shot clock, so a 5-second differential then between the game clock and the shot clock. The Wildcats should have last play, but not a lot of time left after Hobart just milk this clock now. Perry is on the dribble. They go to Scott, the money man. You one way shot. Got the screen from Stiff. Shot no good. 4 seconds on the clock. Grace has a look up now. Goes inside with the pass. They're going to run out of time. That's all we have time for at quarter time. Wildcats lead it by 7 at the first change. 27, the Devils 20.
Monday. The Newcastle Herald is great sport.
Great league. Basketball.
Wildcats with a 7-point lead at quarter time, 27-20. The Wildcats, Vlahoff 8 first quarter points, Grace 6, Stewart and Fisher 4 each, and Crawford has 5. While for the Devils, David Stiff heads their scoring with 9. Scott has 3, Perry 3, 2 each to Russell and Smith, and 1 to Andre Moore.
It's a good start there for the Wildcats, keeping in mind the Devils have been averaging 90 points per game, and if you can keep a club like this to 20 per quarter, you're in good shape, and that's exactly what the Wildcats have done.
Of course, that's what they want to do. The first quarter is certainly the one where they can set the tone of this game. It's Trahair about to look at it. Both coaches reasonably happy with what's going on. Hurley still after the defensive work, though.
Here's Fisher, went looking for Crawford, who finds it on the floor. Got it back out to Fisher. Baseline, couldn't get it to go. Vlahoff battling hard, threw up a shot. Eventually, Andre Moore came down with a rebound. Some big bodies working under the bucket then. Here's Scott. Comes in, banks it off the glass for a couple to open the scoring now. Down the other end, Wildcats wasting no time. Vlahoff scores 2.
Feel for the coaches. Boy, Tomlinson feels for that. He has a great transition game going. 3-on-1, gets the benefit, and straight away it's down the other end and they've got it back.
Vlahoff now in double figures. He has 10 points on the match. Spent a few days in Sydney. Big announcement for the Boomers in Sydney yesterday. Andre Moore missed everything. Rebound to Fisher. Goes to the star in Trahair. Here's Crawford. Athletic move. They get the roll to score 2.
Vlahoff in there with a little finger to put it back. Crawford did well with the left hand, just couldn't convert. Important time here for the Devils. No less important for the Wildcats. Defense is the key for the Wildcats.
Hobart this year 3-14 on the season. Acid test tonight. They're down by 9 points at the present time. There's Moore in the paint. Rebound by Crawford. He's been terrific down that end. A couple of big blocks as well. Fisher wasting no time. Pulls the trigger. Missed the shot.
Yeah, that would have been nice to put in. That puts a lot of pressure on the Devils. Stiff now looking to go baseline on the crossover. Crawford's foul. He's prepared to put the ball to the floor, Michael. Stiff.
He is. He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind taking it. You know, all these big guys, John, they want to be frustrated point guards. You know what it's like.
Well, it's just they never get it back, Michael. You've got to look at it and try and do something with it when they get it.
Well, that's why we don't give it to them, mate.
Nash inbounds, another small man, and Perry. Here's Jerome Scott.
2-3 zone, doing the job here for the Wildcats.
Nash again. And that's a bad pass. Last touch against the Wildcats, I suspect. Yes, it's a Hobart ball from the side.
Tommy Mills wasn't quite sure if the fingers were there. Both his joint officials, Shields and Butler, were very sure it was a Hobart ball.
Wildcats 10-6 on the season. Heading towards the spot now in the top four if they win tonight. Terry, Hobart running the clock down. He fires for three and had plenty of space.
That'll do something for the zone, believe me. There's nothing better than that sort of activity to make you think about your zone defence.
Speaking of space, he was a few steps back from the three-point line there too.
Yeah.
Grace, great pass to Fisher. Blahoff to Crawford. Wildcats playing with some flair tonight. Crawford on the dribble, the big fella. Fisher thought about going out. Now he does to Trahere. The Wildcats set it up again. Blahoff wants to take it to the hoop. Drew a foul. And he'll go to the foul line. Didn't score, though.
Well, that foul will be on Nash. He came over and put the body on Andrew Blahoff. Stiff went screaming across with the hand. I bet he was happy to look up and see that Nash had his hand in the air for the foul.
What a contrast these two clubs are. The Wildcats, arguably the most successful club in the league through the 90s. You go back and look at Hobart, John. They entered the league 12 years ago. They've had just one winning season in that time.
It's been a struggle for the Apple Isle. They've always been there. Mind you, they had a good team in '87, Mike. I remember here that
was their winning season.
Yep. Steve Carfino, Jerry Bernard, Lewis. Who else was there, Mike?
Well, they had a few tough players down there. You know, I think Gribble was down there at that stage, wasn't he? Was he still there?
Wayne Burden, a few blokes like that. I think they had a good solid 6 or 7 players.
They got some kids out there tonight. One of them, David Stiff, who hits for a couple. Well, back in '87, they were 14 and 12. They finished 7th, but that was the year they had just a top 6 playoff format. So they missed the playoff. Here's Crawford. Good move against Moore. Didn't score. Rebound to Nash. And now the Devils down the floor. Here's Scott. Goes to Andre Moore in traffic, and he scores a couple, draws the foul in the process.
Yeah, 27 to the Devils, 33 to the Wildcats. The Devils are clawing their way back. Nice little one-on-one move out there by Moore. Baseline fake, puts it around, little jump stop off the glass for a 2-pointer.
5th defensive rebound to Crawford to go with his 2 blocks. He's been terrific. Here's Grace. They work it to Vlahoff. Wildcats, they are playing with a lot of purpose. Trahere, spinning move, no look to Vlahoff. This deserves the basket. Vlahoff doesn't let Trahere down.
It's not game to miss that, Michael.
I was about to smack him on the back of the ear if he had it, because I was standing within about 2 feet of him.
You'd have wanted to run away fairly quickly if you were that game as well.
No look from Aaron Trahere. How about that? Vlahoff, 17 points now. Wildcats out to a 7-point lead. What a move by Trahere.
Yes, good strong move, and Blahoff was there. Trahere had the vision and found the man.
Perry, the bounce pass to Andre Moore. Low post, working with Blahoff. Shot rimmed out. Fisher got it to Grace. Outlet to Vlahoff. He went back looking for Trahere. Trahere didn't read it, and they've given the ball up.
Didn't return the compliment, Michael.
No, he couldn't. Trahere was running down to follow in.
So Adrian Hurley then wants to talk about it. He's called a timeout here. 6:20 to run in the first half. Wildcats lead it here by 7 points. 6.5 to run in the first half. The Devils huddle, breaking up, led by Darren Perry. How about this pass from Aaron Trahere? No look to the corner. Blahoff found the pass and hit it for 3, and that would be the highlight of the first half.
Well executed. Aaron Trahere has a tendency to make those passes, and Blahoff from range. And if Blahoff can contain the form he's shown from range in recent games, I think the Wildcats become a far more potent team.
Okay, Mike, what about the message from Adrian Hurley calling that last time out?
do the simple things, guys. Just trying to do too much with the ball, making tough passes. That's a tough shot from Nash over Catalini.
Yeah, Catalini was still elevating, and Nash just kept on going, Mike. Good, smooth shot.
Yeah, he did well, but, you know, what they need here is they really do need to look after the ball, just do the solid things and make the good baskets.
Ryan Gardner, free in the corner, 100% from three-point range. Not now. He was unlucky. The shot rimmed out. Youngsters signed up by the Wildcats during the week to see out the season with Perth after two impressive performances in the absence of Trahere. He's getting some court time in this first half.
On Scott. Scott's a tough customer out there. He'll look to post him up. They can get the ball into Scott. They'll let him operate.
Here's Scott now, wants to back his way to the bucket, got rid of Gardner, turnaround jumper, rimmed out, and Gardner got the rebound. He's down the floor now. Over the halfway line now, pulls up, needs to pass it, went looking for Fisher, he lost the handle on it. Moore in the corner now, another chance for Hobart. Smith wants to take on Stewart, in the paint, gave the ball away, and it's an offensive call against the Devils.
Well, Smith's paying the price for penetrating out of control. He's gone through there. You can see the defensive player is there well in advance, and Smith has got nowhere to go. And, of course, that brings up his third foul.
Wildcats record on this court this year, 6-3. It's the fourth best home court record in the league. Brisbane has the best home court record in the NBL this year. They're 6-1. They did lose a couple on the road last weekend. The Bullets, the championship favourites at this stage of the season. Wildcats lead it by 5, and there's a whistle off the ball. Now they've seen something they don't like. I think Andre Moore and Andrew Vlahoff got tangled up. Is that how you saw it, Mike?
Yeah, I think they've caught it on Stiff, actually, number 14.
I think it's an offensive foul on Stiff for pushing off. What's that? His third. So you've got Smith on 3. Two of the starters, Stiff and Smith, on 3 fouls each for the Hobart Devils.
It's easy for you to say.
Almost twisted with the Stiffs there. Jason Thompson comes in.
Here's Stewart now, working against Scott. Thompson finds Ryan Gardner. Hurley prepared to use the bench. Stewart lost the handle on it. In fact, it was slapped away. Scott will go all the way and makes the easy 2. Now the Devils are back in it. They're down just by 3, 36-33.
Yep, well, this is the sort of thing we talked about. The unpredictability of Hobart there. And there's a floating pass. Thompson picks it up, and Smith comes down with a vengeance. I suspect you'll see a couple of changes to the Wildcats roster as the Wildcats lead by 1 with 4 minutes before half-time.
Well, they got it out to a double-digit lead at one stage early in the second quarter, Mike.
They did. Just a little bit of standing around, not moving to the ball. It's just little things like that, not executing the way they should. And that's what's happened. The Devils are down there getting a couple of quick breaks.
Well, they haven't won away from home in nearly 2 years. Fisher, the fake, in the paint, scored 2. Pulls it back to a 3-point game, 38-35.
Seems like an eternity, doesn't it?
Here's Scott. What can they do this time? They're down by 8 points. Important play for them. Shot clock at 22 seconds. Scott goes to Moore. The fake over Crawford by Moore, and he nets 2.
Substitution. That's why the whistle went. Andrew Vlahoff comes in for Jason Thompson.
It's a good offense, guys, if you can run it for like, you know, a minute and a half and score 2 every time you do that.
Hence they score just 90 points a game, Mike, this year. The lowest scoring team in the league. Sydney at 97, John at the second lowest. So they're a fair way off the pace, the Devils, and they've scored just 39 points in the first half. Trahere going for 3. The shot was a fraction short. Fisher went to look to tip it in. It didn't drop.
Andre Moore took it off the ring, though. Great leap.
Devils down by 6 points. They're playing the game now at their tempo, using the shot clock up and dragging the Wildcats down. But it's a close one. Here's Crombie. This is for 3. Put a lot of arc on that, and he scores 45-42.
Well, there you go. Within a minute of half-time.
Don't go away, folks. The Wildcats, like they've had to do on a few occasions at home this year, earned victory. Good lead pass. Vlahoff couldn't score. And Smith works his way through the traffic, went looking for Crombie, got it back again. And it's a Hobart ball. Vlahoff's not happy.
He's complaining that there was no foul called at the other end. And the little fend-off by Smith was the one he really complained about up here. But either way, it doesn't change the complex of the game. Wildcats leading by 3 within 40 seconds of half-time.
Crombie through the leg dribble. to Andre Moore now. Wants the baseline. Kicked it out. Scott spots it for 3. And he's tied the game up at 45 points apiece. 28.5 seconds to run before half-time.
Oh, that's got to be on Smith. And, of course, you know, this is the same thing that happens all the time. Smith bellied up to Vlahoff. You could have given either one of them the foul. And the referees have let it go. And then the contacts got just to the point of needing calling. And Smith, unfortunately, was the one that wore it. And that's his
foul,
fourth.
John. Yep, along with David Stiff, they've both racked up 4.
That's 4. And, of course, the most important thing is it comes back to the foul line situation for the Wildcats. They've got a chance for 2 here. But it does give the last 28.5 seconds possession to the visiting club.
I don't know if that's quite the way they'd like to have got the ball back, though, John.
No, not at all. They had more in mind than that.
Vlahoff, 18 first-half points by the skipper, and he's the standout player at the offensive end for the Wildcats. 18 points, 6 rebounds as well. Gets the seconds. The Wildcats lead it by 3, and the clock is running. The way Hobart have used their shot clock, John, you'd bet that this will be the last play of the first half.
Failing something out of the ordinary, you would think so, and they've got a chance to even it up with the 3-pointer.
Russell hands off to Jerome Scott. And Bill Thompson barking the instruction from the sideline. They go to the corner inside the last 10 seconds of the first half. Crombie, they go inside. Russell, turnaround jumper, didn't drop. Crawford got a hand in there. Vlahoff to Fisher, half-court shot, missed everything. So they head to the locker room then. But the Wildcats up by 3. 47 to the Devils, 44. Wildcats led by 7 at the first change. They managed just 20 points in the second quarter, 47 to 44 at the main break. John, let's have a look at the match stats now.
Well, we must look at the shooting percentage because that's telling the story of the game. The Wildcats have been red hot on this court in the last 2 outings. They're down to 40%. The Devils not much better at 44, but of course that'll suit the Devils and not the Wildcats. From the foul line, 91 to the home clubs, 7 from 9 at 77% from the Devils is fine. Wildcats, who have been over 60% from the 3-point line, are down to 44. The Devils at 37, they've 3 from 8. The rebounds tell an interesting story. You would expect with a 10 rebound advantage, the home club would be in better shape, 26 to 16. The turnover rate is the other thing of interest. Both clubs are in relatively good shape with 9 and 8.
As we await the recommencement of this game then, the Wildcats at halftime leading by 3 points, 47 to the Devils, 44.
Well, it's for the Wildcats to do here because the Devils have reasserted some sort of supremacy in their offense. They're playing with 2 of their starters on 4 fouls. The Wildcats really struggled a little bit in the latter part of that quarter, so they've got to come back with a vengeance.
So the second half about to get underway then. The bottom of the ladder, Hobart, challenging the Wildcats here tonight. Perth up by just 3 points. They started 14-1 on favourites. Grace makes the penetrating move and opens the scoring in the second half. Grace to 8 points now. Wildcats lead out to 5. Can Hobart stick at Perth in the second half? David Stiff working on 4 personal fouls. There's Moore. Goes in fine. Fine Stiff, and it's the 3rd block in the match to James Crawford.
He's playing a great defensive job out there and making it very difficult for Stiff to turn and operate. Ricky Grace is also going past Perry with ease. The first 2 play phases for Ricky Grace, the left-hand drive.
Okay, Mike, what did you make of the first half for the Wildcats?
Well, I thought they started very well, Peter, and then they just let the Devils, I think, dictate terms a little more than they should have. They need to take this game by the scruff of the neck, and it's a nice backdoor play. Pity it didn't come off, but good effort by Grace to get it back.
Got it back and scored 2. His second lot of points for the second half, 51-44. So often Ricky, lifting for the occasion, has 10 points now in the match.
Good move by Grace. Knows how important his first few minutes are after the break.
Well, with North Melbourne winning tonight, the Wildcats need to win to stay in touch with that top 4. Here's Scott on the dribble, brings it back out. He's been terrific. I think he played the first half unchanged, Jeremy Scott.
I suspect he will stay on the floor for the major part of the game.
Here's Smith. Where will he go? To the left. Andre Moore now. 1 big step, and he's drawn a foul.
It's on Ricky Grace, I think, for reaching in. Should be his third.
Just need to try and keep Andre out of the middle there. That's where he's pretty tough. He goes on that right hand, as you can see him going in there. You really do need to keep him out of there.
Need to stay between him and the bucket, Michael, don't you? He really is limited if you do that. If he gets your side on, then he's very dangerous.
A-Train, 5 years with the Bullets. First year with Hobart, gets the second. 51-46. Wildcats led it by 5. They're on a 7-game winning streak on this court against the Devils. Good rotation. Stewart for 3. Needed to drop. Offensive rebound to Crawford. And we've got a whistle. They've seen something in the paint. Crawford thought there was a call in there as well.
Crawford was a pleading look at the referees for the foul that wasn't forthcoming, but the foul was on Vlahoff on the rebound at the other side.
So, slow start then, after a terrific first half, scoring certainly a lot closer than you would have thought going into the game, given that the Devils are at the foot of the table. The Wildcats, one of the championship contenders. Can Perth pull away? Here's Stiff, he's a talent. Moore with 2 more. Andre finds his range in the second half.
Strong move by Moore. He's got to be a key. There's Scott going for the steal, unsuccessful.
On this court, the head-to-head record favours the Wildcats 10 games to 2. Hobart haven't won here since August of 1987. Crawford this time has drawn a foul. Is it against David Stiff?
It'll be very interesting to see who gets this one.
Have to be more early, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Yep.
His Stiff comes across there really well, doesn't he, Peter? He really rotates well and tries to block those shots up there. He's not shy.
Yeah, Michael, he's got good defensive rotation, and he certainly helps out. That is why he does foul out so often, but his value to the team, the Devils, is to stay on the floor. That was a good isolation move there as James Crawford came up to the elbow on the blind pig, turned around and operated against Moore.
Second from Crawford is good. He has 9 now, 53 playing 48, just a couple of buckets in it. Hobart sticking at it. Good luck to him too. There's the great pass by Stiff. He cut loose baseline and scored. Hobart down by just 3 points, 63-60. Here's Fisher. Fisher in the paint. The fake against Moore. The shot blocked by Moore. Big second effort by Fisher. Was he out of court?
They're saying that the ball hit the underside of the backboard and it's gone back to the Devils. It's like a timeout. They couldn't call here, Pete.
It was 6:10. That's 10 seconds before the TV timeout, but it's called by Hobart, and they're down by 3 points. Point on the night. Ricky Grace, 6 points in the first quarter. Didn't score in the second quarter. Pretty good from the foul line this year.
84%. He's in the top 10.
Thank you, John.
Fixed him up again.
Now, Mike, I'm not the only one that can put the kiss of death.
Yes, well done, John. You've still haven't got to the same height as Pete, but you're getting there.
The apprentice, Mike.
I reckon John one day will get to the point where he can stop a train. Baseline, Devils score again. That came from Russell. So they're down by just 4, 66-62. If they do happen to pull off a victory here, it'll be one of the biggest upsets in recent years in the NBA.
They'll party long and hard, won't they?
Oh,
Moore and Vlahoff.
Now, Crawford got tangled up with Russell, and the ref's seen it.
Yeah.
They're doing some pushing off each other.
It was called intentional, unsportsmanlike. Either way you want to have it, it will send Crawford to the foul line for 2, and the possession will go back to the home club, the Wildcats, after the 2 foul shots. Possession will be given up once more at the halfway mark.
Well, that was an interesting one, considering Moore and Vlahoff were really going at it under the basket. And Russell was copped for giving James a bit of a forearm jolt. Yeah,
I suspect it's the intent, Mike. I mean, they're prepared to allow Moore and Vlahoff, the big upper body guys, to keep banging all night as long as it's within reason. But once somebody comes out there and intentionally grabs and pushes, and either way, it's sat Russell down, and he's not happy about it.
Second is good by James, 68-62. Wildcats possession now. Handy 6-point buffer.
Yeah, 6 point. It could be another 2 or possibly a 3. So it's a very critical call and a critical misdemeanor.
The Cats over the halfway line then. 3:57 to run in this third quarter. And there's a travel against Crawford, so all that work perhaps given back to Hobart.
Yeah, either way, Crawford had the chance to operate there with a one-on-one. McKinnon's come on now, and he's a tall lump of timber out there. Mikey matches up pretty well with Crawford.
Certainly does. I don't know if he's going to have quite the same experience as James, but James was looking to take him too quick that time.
Had the wheels running before the clutch was let out.
Doing his Fred Flintstone impersonation.
Yeah.
Here's Perry, averaging just over 46 minutes a game this year. In the paint, throws up the shot, scores 2. He has 14 for the match.
It's a tough shot by Perry. Perry really has a career average of 10 points. He's up to 15 points per game this year with the Devils. That's a tough shot under pressure.
They're down by 4. The Apple Islanders to the top, and Blahoff. Where will he go to the wing and Trahair? Here's Fisher working against McKinnon. Fisher got it back out again. Catalini firing for 3. Didn't drop, and McKinnon got the rebound.
Catalini shooting at over 60% from the three-point line. Only out of the top 10 in that category by virtue of not taking enough three-pointers.
68-64, long-range shot from Perry again. Well, this is shades of Damien Keogh, the Sydney Kings, going back a couple of months ago, Mike.
Oh, don't say things like that. That's scary.
Perry shoots so well coming up off the block and turning right. They've got to turn him left and make him put the ball to the floor. He's in a groove now when he turns right and takes that outside shot.
In that zone, John. Here's Grace looking to get in that zone, and he does. Connects for 3. The Wildcats needed that.
They get it back. It's still a 4-point lead. We're in the last 3 minutes of the third quarter.
Darren Perry, 5 from 6 from outside, 17 points for the match. He's got it again. Inspirational stuff by Perry. Cole. Give it to Perry. Give it to the man with a hot hand. Take a shot, Darren, from out there.
He's got 10 seconds to do it.
Wants to back his way to the bucket. Trahair guarding him. Here's Cole over Crawford. Cleaned up by McKinnon. McKinnon scores 2.
McKinnon did it well.
Don't you hate that?
Sure do.
Grace got up there, got a good piece of the shot, and the offensive rebounder picks it up and puts it back in.
Well, the Islanders have got a sniff here, Michael, in terms of staying in contention as they come down to the last.
With a bunch of kids out there. Hobart, they're only down by 2 points. Here's Blahoff holding the Wildcats together. Came back Grace's way. Baseline reverse layup. Very clever, Ricky.
Yeah, nice little pump fake there. Took the tall timber off the pine. Went through on the reverse. Well executed. 4-point lead. Yeah, very tricky, Ricky.
Here's McKinnon working against Fisher. Minute and a half to run. Throughout the third quarter, the Wildcats may have shook off the Devils. Moore gets a couple back. 73-71. How about that?
Well, that's a tough one. And, you would not have predicted this before the game, Freedom, would you? And, of course, as so often happens now, the momentum's going with the Devils as they come down, taking shots. Will Moore take this one? No. Fine, Perry.
I reckon, Mike, if Hobart happened to win it, we're a long way from that, it would have to rate as one of the biggest upsets through the 90s in the NBL.
Well, you'd have to say something along those lines, but the way these guys are playing, I mean, they are playing so very, very well, and they haven't been, out of a lot of the games they've played right through the whole season so far.
Yeah, they're only scoring at 90 points per match, but they're only giving up 102, Mike, so there's a 10-12-point differential there, and that makes it tough.
Well, they've coughed it up, the Wildcats, Stuart.
Andrew Vlahov's got a foul, hasn't he? 21.
It was 23. It was definitely 23. On Stewie. Yeah, he sort of got stripped of the ball in his effort to get it back. He raked down on the opposition's arms there.
Well, the Devils, John, might be all square with the Wildcats at three-quarter time. We've got just on 35 seconds to run. They're down by a couple of points.
Wildcats in the zone now, 2-3, 19, 18 seconds on the shot clock, 27 on the game clock.
Moore, the money man for the baseline, connects for 2. And that is the situation, 73 points each.
15 points for Moore. He's got 8 rebounds to go with those 15 points.
And Grace looking to set up the final play of this third quarter. And they're really tuned in, Hobart. The bench is up. Here's Grace now. 4 seconds to go. Cat went looking for a jam. Got it back again. He scores. Well, he got two back. The first jam was blocked by Moore. Catalini came again. The Wildcats lead by that 2 points, 75-73, a quarter to play. Wildcats up by just 2, 75-73. Wildcats need to score early. Shake off Hobart. Stewart going for 3. Didn't drop. Let's set the scene, John. This is the club, Hobart, who haven't won on the road in nearly 2 years.
Yes, and they have the most unenviable road record of anybody in the league, second only to Newcastle, and in terms of Newcastle lead that record, and here they are playing with much aplomb and confidence against the club who are on their home court, who have been successful against them in Perth since 1987.
Andre Moore, Mike's tied it up at 75 points each.
Certainly has, and James Crawford has been the man given the task of slowing Andre Moore down. Now he scores that, he figures they're even now, so now he'll come down and do some stops.
Yep, I've got to get on to Andre Moore. He's taken up the challenge. It's David Stiff's back on the floor as well. Hobart can match the front wall of the Wildcats for size and strength.
Wildcats quoted at 14-1 on to win this game. It's like saying Barlap should win on the at Flemington by the length of the straight. Well, that's just not going to happen now. Wildcats up by 2. Here's Grace to the corner. The Cats free, firing for 3. Came up short. He comes again. Martin Catalini won the ball back to give Perth an important possession. Stewart to Grace. We've got a whistle. Now, they've seen something off the ball, have they?
Yeah, there's perspiration on the floor. Andrew Vlahoff, rightfully so, was signalling to the referee to get it cleared up. That floor gets like glass once the perspiration gets there. But it's a very, very tense game right now. All the pressure, Peter, must be on the home club. They were clear favourites. You've demonstrated that. They have all the pressure on them to perform here. The Devils have come into their court with really nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Well, Mike, they say a close one's a good one.
Well, that's right. We saw last week where the Wildcats actually busted Gold Coast open, in particular in the last quarter. They're going to have a hard time doing that tonight. They're really going to have to work hard to beat this team.
Another wasted possession. Both Crawford and Vlahoff had opportunities. They couldn't score. Here's David Stiff playing with 5 personal fouls. Scott has a look up. They've run the clock nicely. Hobart, they basically dictated the pattern of play here to the top and Nash. They're a team basically made of youngsters. A couple of senior men, and Moore and Terry have stood up tonight. Scott from range, no good. Crawford got the defensive rebound. Sigh of relief for Adrian Hurley down the other end. Here's Grace. Kicks it out. Stewart's left free. This is for 3. Should have done better. Offensive rebound to Vlahoff, who lost the ball. Well, the Cats doing everything possible to lose the game. Here's Scott on the dribble. Terry, the danger man. This is for 3. Not a good shot. Missed everything except the backboard to the Wildcats. Let off the hook. It was too close, obviously.
Too easy, Mike. Vlahoff that last time just lost the ball as he tried to go against David Stiff out there because of Stiff's 5 penalty situation.
Here's Crawford now wanting to back his way to the bucket again, looking to draw the foul against Stiff. Came up empty-handed. Down the floor come Hobart again. 77-75, 9 minutes to run. Fisher sitting down with Trahere. Hurley going with Catalini, Vlahoff, Crawford, Stewart and Grace. Here's Stiff, ran into Grace. Stripped of the ball, he's drawn a foul.
It's an interesting situation there. Stiff took the bump the first time and referees gave him the benefit of the offensive situation. Came back. You'll see Ricky Grace out here reaching for the ball. No doubt he got the ball, but he got a fair amount of the forearm as well.
A bit of a kick in the stomach to go on with it.
Yeah, just a little reminder.
Is that 4 for Grace now, 2?
4 or 2.
4 also?
Well, David Stiff, lack of concentration there, poor foul shot. If he'd got both on this trip, he would have tied it up. Here's the second. That's good. 1-point game then, 77-76. Hobart haven't won in Perth since 1987. Adrian Hurley up off the bench again. Something's got to spark this side. Grace Peterman, clever pass. Trahere for 2. Missed it. Rebound. Moore. Perry gave it to Scott. Scott wanting to take it all the way. They count the 2, and he's drawn a foul. Hobart are in front.
Yeah, nice strong move on the transition out there. Wildcats shooting is really struggling. They're 33% from the three-point line. Yeah, they're going just a little bit one out, and they're trying to take the ball to people like Stiff, trying to get him into foul trouble, and in doing that, they're forgetting that their offense, if it's strung together, will break the defensive posture down. Here's Trahere in trouble here, but he gets it across, just gets it across with about 2 seconds remaining, and he gets it to Ricky Grace.
In the corner, Stewart's got it. Rotation good by Perth. Grace calls the play. His team down by 2 points. Shot clock inside 10. Grace wants to take on Perry in the paint. Left-handed shot is good. He tries it up at 79.
Well, it's a pressure ball game. We've always known this. We're halfway through the final quarter almost. Well, 8 minutes is 3/4 the way through. And the Devils are really playing with confidence. That'll be a hand-checking foul on Fisher, I would think. That's the 3rd team foul on the Wildcats, and of course that can be very critical. Michael coming in so early, another 1, and then the bonus is applied against the home club.
Especially when you consider Hobart haven't got any at this point.
Darren Perry, what a game he's played. Been involved in a couple of championship teams, Brisbane and Magic, so he knows how to win. 17 points, he's hit 5 from 7. The bounce pass to Andre Moore. He's been a star in the second half. It's a Hobart ball, the advantage of the whistle. Now Fisher wants to argue.
Yeah, what the referee's saying is that Fisher was on the line when he jumped out, I would imagine.
Keep possession, Hobart. They find Moore, who's working against Crawford. Turnaround jumper. Crawford got a piece of that. Hobart, they retain possession.
They did this in the second quarter, didn't they? They kept on going and getting the ball back. I like what Crawford's doing on Moore and making sure he can't go right. Putting a lot of pressure, and Moore knows that the extra reach and the jumping ability of Crawford is something to contend.
Here's Nash getting free in the key way to give the Devils a 2-point lead, 81-79. They're serving it up to the Wildcats. Talked about a club that was in danger of being extinct only a year or so back. In dire financial trouble. That pass was just too hot. And it's a Hobart ball from the side. I mean, Hobart have had to struggle for survival. They know what it's like at the bottom.
They're battlers, you know, and as I said earlier, they've got nothing whatsoever to lose here on this court tonight except their losing streak. So they're very relaxed about the whole thing.
Here's Perry to the top and Scott. Where will he go to Moore, and why not? What a second half he's played. Jerome Scott, shot clock to 8 now, wants to take on Grace. Perry got free, but Scott went all the way and scored.
A little two-man game working for the Devils out there.
It's a 4-point game now, John.
Yep, Scott and Moore are giving the Wildcats something to think about.
Wildcats, Mike, in this situation, I guess the tendency to feel a bit tight.
Well, a little bit. I mean, this is what people come to see, Peter. Nice, close, tough game. Doesn't matter who you're playing. Look at that. They're down.
They're down. They're not out. There's a wet spot on the floor. The officials are going to have to pull this up, I would think, in a moment.
Stewie for 3 from the corner. No good. Nash came down with it. Ricky Grace went in for the steal, rather Stewart, but it's a Hobart ball. Breaking the attempt by Anthony Stewart against his former club.
He's feeling the pressure, Michael, isn't he, Stewart? He's really struggling out there tonight. He has something like 6 points and 1 rebound and 3 turnovers. Now, that sort of pressure's showing up in his shooting. He's just not shooting with the confidence he has in the last 2 matches.
Yeah, often the case. You just try that little bit too hard. And as we know, you try a bit too hard and things tighten up a little bit. And that's what happens. He's just got to try and relax, especially in these last 5.5 minutes.
Here's David Stiff. We're going to travel against the Devils. They've given the ball up. Much needed whistle for Perth. They needed that, John.
Yeah, look, it's halfway through the last quarter. Wildcats are trailing by 4. And that little turnover was very critical.
83 playing, 79, 5:44 left in the game. Here's Fisher. Had a quiet night by his standards. Strong move, didn't get the drop. Comes back Grace's way. Another chance to Perth. Grace's left hand is good. And now the crowd will get behind the Wildcats, I would suspect. They need it, Mike.
They certainly do. This is what this home crowd is all about. They've got to get behind their team here and bring them on home.
83-81. Bounce pass is clever. There's Moore. Well, he's got two back quickly. Just what has he needed?
19 points for Andre Moore, 11 rebounds to go with it. He's had a very good game.
Trehair to the top and Stewie. Here's Grace on the left-hand dribble. Lahoff, 25 points so far. Wants to take on Steph as he's drawn the foul. I think that's right. Goodbye, David Steph.
Well, they worked towards it and they backed him in, and that will be his sixth.
That's a huge play, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, we've got a three-point play here if Blahoff makes a foul shot. But not only that, he's got Steph sitting on the bench now as well. And that's a big play for the Wildcats right there.
Yeah, it's a very big play, and they've been trying for that. I suspect they've been trying just a little bit too hard to bring that about. But don't underestimate the rest of the crew out there from the Devils, because they are really playing well and confidently. Of course, it wasn't a timeout. The substituting player had 30 seconds. The Devils milked a little bit more out of that.
Lahoff to the line for the bonus. Big stats that. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Gets the extra. 1-point game now. 85-84. There's the time remaining. We're headed down the stretch. These two clubs have been locked together all night. Neck and neck. Who will crack first? The youngsters of Hobart have stood up like veterans tonight. Smith to Scott to the corner, and Perry. Been a bit more quieter in this third quarter. In this last quarter than the third quarter, rather. There's Smith. Dishes to Perry. Fires for three. Didn't drop. Rebound. Blahoff. Can he control it? Kept alive by Hobart. Stewart got a hand in there. It's a Hobart ball, I suspect. Valiant attempt by Stewart again. Desperation.
Hobart's done that all night, Michael, haven't they? They've just been able to get it back. They've got another 30-second clock here, 4.5 minutes remaining, and they lead by 1.
They're getting a couple of good bounces they have, but, you know, you make your own luck, as we all say.
Long-range shot from Darren Smith. No good. Rebound to Trehair. Down the floor. Stewart to Grace. Great movement. He scores. Perth back in front.
Well, now the pressure comes on. It'll be interesting to see how long Tomlinson goes without a timeout. He has 2 left. Hurley has 2 left. Little pressure now coming from the zone. Little 2-3 zone working. Perry with the right-handed shot. He's come up short. Big rebound by Blahoff.
Grace down the floor. Stewart makes the layup. That's the run the Wildcats needed. They lead now by 3. 88-85. Tomlinson, no option but to call a timeout to stop the run. 3:44 to run in the last quarter. A mini break the Wildcats' way. 88-85. 3:44 to play, and that's an eternity in a game of basketball.
Well, the scene is set, Peter. It is an eternity. We've got a lot of possessions. The pressure's turned a little bit back on 2 players, in my view, for the Devils. That's Andre Moore and Jerome Scott. Perry certainly is the other one you can't underestimate. Wildcats' running game has got them this little mini lead.
Hobart, Mike, asked the question again.
They certainly are, and it remains to be seen whether or not they will crack or not. But Tomlinson wants the ball, and rightly so, to go inside a bit more. Moore hasn't seen much of it of late, and there's been a few too many of those quick shots.
Perry's gone cold from outside in this last quarter. Here's Grace down the floor. Still he goes, Grace. They've drawn. There's a whistle. Now they've seen something, John.
A little contact there on the drive. And the other thing that picked up my attention there was Andrew Blahoff. Very strong contact back under the bucket. That'll be on Jerome Scott. But in terms of contact for that last rebound, the Wildcat captain was gingerly massaging his hip. He's certainly got some heavy contact.
Grace has come to life in the second half. Wants to get away from Perry. Got free and scored 2. Well, he's been a match winner in this last quarter, Ricky Grace.
That left-handed drive, Perry did all he could to take it away from him. The only thing he could have done was put him on the deck.
Grace had just 6 points to half-time. He has 26 for the match now. A 20-point second half. The Wildcats champion point guard. Perth led it by 5. Hobart need to respond, you would think, on this play. Here's Scott. Shot clock to 8. Scott for 3. We've got a whistle. Now,
it's not a bad situation from Fisher. Fisher's complaining about the hand checking foul. But I think that'll be a side ball. Yeah, side ball, that's Scott Fisher's fourth. That'll go from the baseline, I should say, and that could have been far worse if the foul had been called a little later during the act of shooting.
2:47 to run.
Offensive, I would think.
Stewart go down.
Stepping across. Well,
a block against Stewart.
Yeah, Stewart's not happy with that. From where we were, it looked to me like Stewart was there in time. The replay is always a better question. Gee, it's still a line ball. Referee's going to call it. That's the toughest one to call in the game, of course. Always a judgment call.
15 foul for the Wildcats in this last quarter, so Scott steps up to the foul line. You can put the Hobart back in it from here, Mike.
Certainly could too here, and he hasn't got the first one. They really do need to make these foul shots. This is crunch time, guys. This is where the pressure comes.
This is also where you can feel the breath of that losing streak breathing down your neck. Hurley's very animated, telling people to make sure they get out there, and I can see there's somebody broken the line. They're saying that Jerome Scott has got over the line too early, and he can't go over before the ball hits the ring.
You mentioned Adrian Hurley. I don't think I've ever seen him so animated, John. Here's Fisher. Fisher goes in close and scores.
Fisher almost lost the handle on that one as well.
7-point game, 92-85. The Wildcats with a bit of breathing space now. 2:26 to run. Hobart needs to score, and quickly there's Moore. Moore gets closer to the hoop. They kick it back out. Smith for three. He's kept the Devils in it.
Well, that's the best result for the Devils and not so good for the Cats. A little defensive stop there made it interesting, and Smith came up for his first three-pointer of the match.
92-88, 4-point game. Here's Trahair, left free. Comes up short. Terry got the rebound. Well, they bring it down the floor.
Three-pointer here from the Devils makes it interesting.
Inside the last 2 minutes now. At last, the crowd have got alive, Mike.
They certainly have, but I tell you what, these Devils will not lie down.
They go inside from range. Russell gets two. Working rather, it was Nash from close to the hoop. And now it's a 2-point game, 92-90. And now the Wildcats pop the question. Here's Grace. Great little dish to Vlahoff, who's drawn a foul.
Little hand foul there by Moore. Moore's got a little bit tired in the last minute or so. The constant pressure's got to him. Vlahoff took the inside move on the baseline. Little fake and went up for the shot. Good penetration there by Grace. Vlahoff would have felt far more comfortable making the shot and getting the bonus. As it is, he gets the chance for the two. Trahair comes out of the game. Crawford comes in. I suspect that's a good move. Putting Crawford back in on Andre Moore. Russell's come in for the Devils. Pressure on the Wildcat captain. His team leads by 2.
It's been perfect, John, from the foul line tonight. 10 from 10 for Vlahoff. And now he's given Perth a 3-point lead. He has 29. This is for his 30th point of the evening. Played like the captain. Been in great form in the last couple of months. Gets it. A 4-point cushion now to Perth. 94-90. 1:25 to run in this last quarter. Russell goes inside to Nash. Back to Russell. That's for three. Didn't miss by much. Gigantic rebound to Crawford.
You'd have to think that Russell's not the boy to be taking that shot in the clutch.
That's why Crawford's been subbed in, for that very reason right there, fellas.
He has to, and also I think that he's got the fresher legs. He's had a couple of minutes break out there. He should be able to get on the backboard. He should be diving down low now.
Stewart, shot clock to 8. This is for 2. Didn't drop. Offensive rebound of Vlahoff. He's drawn another foul.
Yep. And this is where the captain's tenacity really wears the opposition down. He kept at it. I think it's Nash's foul as he's reached in. Maybe a little inexperience out there. It was Andre Moore's at 41. I thought it was 4. He signalled. Interesting, they've brought Trahair in for Stewart as a ball carrier. That's a good move. Stewart was struggling a little bit. They expect the Devils to foul a little bit here. The Devils, well, both teams are in the bonus situation, so foul shooting could decide the eventual outcome of this game.
Grace milking the clock. Shot clock to 10 now. 30 left in the game. Bounce pass to Fisher. They'll go back to Grace. Shot clock to 5. He puts up the shot and short. Crawford looking to tip it in. It comes Perry's way. Down to the last 20 seconds of the game. Scott for 3. Missed everything.
And you've got to feel for Jerome Scott. I mean, that's the sort of shot that can make a hero or villain out of you in that circumstance. 15.3 seconds remaining, and substitution made by Adrian Hurley. He's bringing Stewart back again, expecting the ball-carrying skills to be necessary here as the Devils swarm all over the floor. But that's broken it apart. Grace doesn't even want the shot. He doesn't want the foul either, but he knows he's going to get it.
Got the basket for well and truly after the foul was called. But Grace goes to the foul line. His club up by 4 points, and the clock has run down to 9.5 seconds left in the game. So it's going to be tough now for Hobart to pull this out of the fire, particularly if Grace can score a couple here.
Sure. Andre Moore's 5th foul, and as I said, there's no doubt that Grace knew he didn't want the foul. He was trying to get to the corner, but they weren't going to let him. And they'll be happy with the foul, won't they?
And this is the next. Grace, terrific second half. 20-point second half for Grace.
Wildcats are going to man-to-man here, make sure that the Devils take some time off the clock, and they won't want a foul, and they'll even give them a layup.
Well, we got the second. Clock is running now, down to 8 seconds. Scott from range, didn't connect. Perry's got to pull out, fire for 3. Scores on the buzzer, and he's brought it back to a 2-point game. Fantastic effort by Hobart to go down by just a couple. The Wildcats winning in the end by nearly the narrowest possible margin, 95-93. Darren Perry hit for a 3-pointer right on the buzzer, but they've given the Wildcats a real fright here.
Well, there's no doubt, and they deserve the accolades of this crowd. They can hang their head high and be very proud of their efforts against a club that's well above them on the ladder.
Just waiting for Mike Ellis to get into position now. His former team winning by a couple. He's standing by now to talk to the Wildcat skipper, Andrew Vlahoff.
Thanks, Pete. Well, Andrew, a nail-biter, son.
I don't know what's going on, but they certainly don't get any closer than that.
No, that's four. But you've got to give Hobart credit. I mean, they really did play well tonight, and they really did dictate tempo for a while.
Yeah, from a strategic point of view, they played the perfect game. I think they... we made some pretty terrible decisions offensively, and we really paid the price. They played a very, very good game.
All right, well, look, we'll have a look at your stats just very quickly. We've got them up here on the screen. We have a look at that. You had a very, very good first half. You must have been happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, the ball was just coming to me. I was in the right place at the right time, so just able to put it in the basket tonight.
Well, you've got to take advantage of those mismatches. You had little Smith, who's a bit shorter than you down there.
Yeah, well, I was calling for the mouse in the house. So, yeah, when that happened, that's what you're supposed to do, get the mismatch and go inside.
All right, Ricky Grace had a good second half.
Yeah, fantastic second half. Really, picked it up in the third and fourth quarter, showed great leadership and, steered us to a victory.
43% from the field. The Wildcats are at 51 on average, so that's pretty poor, and they're unhappy with that. Devils about where they've been all year. And if you look at the foul shooting, that's fairly good from the Wildcats. 3 points percentage, 31% for the Wildcats. They're a good 7 or 8 percentage points down, and they were 5 from 16. Rebound-wise, I think the rebounding kept them in the game, 43-34, and their turnover rate was fairly good at 14-12. And I think that if you look at those stats, you've got to look at the rebounding, and that was basically Crawford and also Vlahoff.
Let's check the leading scorers. Andrew Vlahoff, 30 points. Your MVP?
Oh, he's got to be my MVP tonight. I think he's been so consistent in the last couple. He continues to play well.
Grace got 27, while for the Devils, Perry hit 20. Very good from range. Moore got 19. Now, John, the individual breakdown in the rebounding department.
Well, Vlahoff with 11, Crawford with 11, and Fisher under there with 9. I thought Scott Fisher was pretty quiet tonight on the scoring situation, but the rebounding, he played his part. Moore with 11 had a good game. Perry with 5. He had a good all-round game. Stiff, certainly, he faded a little bit out there with